The Macabre World podcast is brought to you by Darker Art Studio, home of real human bone jewelry. Stock and custom pieces are available, so visit us on the web at www.darkerartstudio.com and show them your darker art side. Macabre World, a podcast from Darker Art Studio, where we explore the dark, strange, and unusual from this world and beyond. Hello and welcome to the Macabre World podcast. I'm your host, Rocky Digati, and with me today, actor, writer, producer, we have Brad Forenza. He is the series creator for Around the Sun, which is an award-winning New York-based podcast, and it's on the Broadway Network. You can find it at www.aroundthesunpodcast.com. It features EGOT-winning cast, people that you've heard of, Marsha Mason. We have all kinds of folks that are on there. B.D. Wong. We have Sally Struthers, and amazing. But today we have Brad. Brad, thank you for joining us.
Woohoo! Who the hell is Brad Forenza?
Who the hell is Brad? Where is Brad Forenza from? Tell me about that. Let's start about let's go into some early Brad.
Straight into the deep dive, huh, Rocky?
Right into the deep dive. Tell me about your childhood.
First, thank you for having me on. And
it's wonderful to have
who
you.
am I? Gee, I'm from Jersey, born and raised, and lots of colorful characters around me in my family, in my friend groups, in my neighborhood. And Around the Sun is an episodic audio drama. And you can catch, maybe my interpretation of some of these colorful characters who have been in my life as interpreted by an amazing cast that we all know and love.
Oh yeah, I can't begin to even list some. I mean, like I said, Marsha Mason, B.D. Wong, Richard Kind.
Yeah.
Jay
very,
Rodriguez.
very lucky. Very, very lucky. Jay is in the most current season 3, which is launching this fall, 2023. Fantastic. But the other individuals you referenced, any of your listeners, Rocky, can catch them wherever they get their podcasts, seasons 1 and 2 with Marsha, BD, Richard. It's all out there for everyone to engage with.
So some folks might be wondering, being that this is kind of a dark podcast, they're like, and they know I have a penchant for the creative arts of all kinds. But one of the reasons I was very excited to have you on is especially after listening to some of the episodes, I really, really love your look at life, because there is a poignant and dark slice of life, and that really infects your humor. It infects because you wrote all of these pieces. They're brilliantly acted.
Thank you.
But this is your writing.
Correct.
And I think your voice is really important. And I think a lot of the episodes touch deeply on issues and things that either we're afraid to talk about or that are hard to talk about. And in some cases that are hard to laugh about, but we do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can tell you listened and engaged, and thank you for that. And yes, I think some of the media that I grew up with, the Norman Lear Syndicate and whatnot, did a really great job of normalizing issues that we wouldn't necessarily be so apt to talk about around the dinner table. And I grew up with those episodes in syndication. So after they had already been originally broadcast, but I grew up with them en masse, because it wasn't just All in the Family. It wasn't just Facts of Life or Different Strokes. It was everything that had already aired at my fingertips, although without the internet, where you can find it even quicker.
Oh, this is true. And should be noted that speaking of All in the Family and Facts of Life, Sally Struthers from All in the Family, as well as Mindy Cohn from Facts of Life, are also featured.
You have a great memory for having not having all this data right in front of you, but you're totally correct.
I enjoyed it very much. That is truly sincere, and it made a wonderful impression. And also, before we get too far into it, let's shout out to our mutual friend, Dwayne Scott
Cerny. Woo!
Yes, Dwayne, you're the bomb. Thanks for introducing us. And you can find Dwayne at Vintage Confidential. He is also the author of Vintage Confidential, as well as Selling Dead People's Things. Go look him up on Amazon. He's amazing.
And cool. Rocky.
And he's coming back.
Awesome. And he linked us up. So
he did.
Thank you, Dwayne. Without doing too much self-promotion. I just want
No
to
such thing.
also shout out to Dwayne and say that he makes a cameo in episode 2.2, which is called Fallout Girls.
Oh, that's fantastic. If you're looking for a cameo and you need someone with a mellifluous voice, I might,
You
I
have
might,
an
I might say.
amazingly rich, wonderful voice, and it reminds me, yes, it's very becoming, engaging for this medium and for
Well,
life.
I'm yours for the asking. That's all
I
I'm
love it.
saying. It can happen. So, what were you as a kid? You're growing up in
Yeah.
Jersey. Were you always into either theater or creative stuff? Like, how did the
Yeah.
bug bite you?
Yeah, that question comes up a lot, even in friend circles. When did I start performing? When did I start writing? And I can't really pinpoint it. I can't really separate myself from being a creative person and marching to the beat of my own drum, as I'm sure you and Dwayne can relate to as
Very
well.
much.
Um, so let's see. I always did school shows. I remember it's funny because Indiana Jones's whatever sixth, seventh iteration is out this summer as we're recording this. And I remember the first series of books. They're not for sale. You're not going to find them on Amazon. You'll find them in my family's attic. But the first series of books I wrote was the Indiana Mouse series.
Oh, how cute.
It was dictating the stories to my grandfather, who would write them down for me. And he loved that. He was a printer, a union guy in
Right.
Hoboken. And he would just write what I was dictating. And he would always impress upon me the importance of copyright. Of course, I didn't get into that until much later.
Of course. But yeah, I think a lot of us, found a creative outlet early. And I mean, people have asked me, when did you start singing? I'm like, I have no idea, but I haven't stopped yet.
Yeah.
Same with talking. So I'm
And what a
told.
great medium for you. You do genuinely have that rich, nuanced, deep,
Thank
sexy
you.
voice. I love
Well,
it.
it's kind of funny. It's sexy, but we should all tell the viewers that you can actually see me when people can't see me. And I introduce myself as Rocky on the phone. I had said this in our pre-show convo. I used to have a sign on my cubicle that says "Not mistaken for a man on the phone," and it had 0 days. And the best part about it was I work for a healthcare institution, and one of the people that called me for help with an issue that I had an extensive call with, um, unbeknownst to him, was my gynecologist. And he was the whole call. He's going, "You the man. You the man. Oh, thanks, man." And he's
Wow.
throwing me to death. And at the end of the call, he goes, "Buddy, you," and I can tell he thinks I'm a guy. And I was like, Doctor, and I'd said his name. I said, not only am I not a guy, you've been like nose to business end to how I'm not a guy. And I said my real name. I said, "This is Raquel." And all of a sudden I hear, "Oh no."
Oh, snap.
And every time I've seen him since, we've laughed about it.
I love
He's
it.
a wonderful doctor. So it is an interesting instrument. So, you did school. Do you have a favorite school role? What was the role that made you say, I've got to do this?
Oh, for sure. David and Lisa in High School, which is a film, a sleeper indie film from the late 60s with Care Dulé and Howard Da Silva, Janet Margolin. Uh, they they people, someone turned that into a stage play, and I was pretty hell-bent on being David my senior year of high school. And I got it. And I was so invested in that part. I remember my grandfather, I'll invoke him again, saying, "You mean to tell me the same David in the title is the David you're playing?" He didn't believe that. I err more on the introverted side of life, and yet I've always put myself out there for these things. And I remember that being a moment wherein I really wanted that part. I liked the meat of it.
Right.
To the extent that a high school student can understand inpatient psychiatric treatment, which is the setting for David and Lisa, I got that there was something below the surface. It was something that appealed to me beyond just show and tell and indicating, as they say in the biz, something beyond indicating. There was some meat to kind of gnaw away at in that piece.
It's and I'm familiar with the play, and it has a lot of depth to it, and the characters
Yeah.
really have a lot of facets. And I'm gonna make a direct comparison, and I hope it's not unfavorable. That's how I found your characters. Your characters had a lot of depth, and what is interesting
Thank
is
you.
most of your the episodes are relatively short.
Yeah,
They're
they
relatively
are.
short, so as I like to say to the listening audience, they're easily digestible, and
Yes.
you can either binge or follow a little here or there. But one of the things I did notice is there's a real ring of truth. There's a very real earthy quality to what you're doing, and I can't help but ask, and I'm sure you get this question all the time,
Mhm.
how much of this draws on your actual personal experience?
Oh, some episodes are a carbon copy of my actual personal experience. And then some episodes are extrapolated. You referenced Sally Struthers before, and I didn't know Sally before she committed to doing this project. She committed back in the COVID days, but I knew the roles that Sally was known for. And she plays effectively a colorful, crazy stranger on the subway. And I think on some level, we all know that crazy stranger on the subway. And she's well intended, her character. And that's what I'm drawing on, someone who's having a crisis, who's comforted or trying to be comforted by the stranger on the subway, who's also, proselytizing, and she has her own goals in that piece too. And then other pieces, like you also referenced Marsha Mason, whom I have the privilege of having worked with outside of this
A
project.
goodbye girl.
She's an amazing actor, obviously, and an amazing spirit and soul. And I've had the privilege of working with her on a couple projects and having been directed by her. Same with her co-star, Austin Pendleton. They do a piece wherein
I'm
if
just
it
going to say
has,
something real quick.
yeah,
Folks, look up Austin Pendleton. That may be a name you don't know, but
you
you know
know
the
him,
face.
you
Yes.
know him.
I remember I actually loved him in Hello Again.
Hello Again with Shelley Long.
I loved that movie.
Ah, he's an omnipresent person,
He
it would
really is.
seem.
And he's in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And everyone knows him, but may not associate the name. So look him up. I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
Oh, all good. Just those two actors play two people sitting on a park bench in New York City, and it's a piece about memory loss. Spoiler alert. I won't tell you how it happens, but that's drawn almost verbatim from conversations I remember having with my grandmother when she was fading
Right.
and slipping further and further into dementia. And I'd be naive to think that that's just my own experience with my grandmother or my mom's experience with my grandmother. Unfortunately, I know that dementia and Alzheimer's are experiences that touch a lot of people's lives. Terminal illness touches a lot of people's lives. I probably shouldn't share all of these morose things, Rocky, because
Well,
I
this is a
might.
morose kind of show. You're in the right
Okay.
place. But it's and I'm not going to spoil it either, but there's more than one factor there that I think is really universal and is part of a hard conversation. But there's a loving lilt to it. Does that make sense? There's some
Yeah.
sugar with the vinegar,
Yeah.
and it definitely you sense the love that the two people have for each other,
Yeah.
and how the sense of humor can get you through a hard
Yeah.
conversation,
And
and
keep
kind of
listening,
thing.
Rocky, because
Oh, I
you may
don't
or
think you have a
may
choice.
not see them again pop up, since I, as a writer, am a fan of the old bookend structure where
Sure.
what starts at episode 1.1 has to kind of have some hint of resolution by the end of their particular season, which is season one.
Now, did you ever take an episode that may be based on something that happened and rewrite it the way you wish it would have gone?
Well, I think you referenced BD Wong, and BD Wong is in an episode called Apothecary, that's 1.6, and Christine Nagy is his co-star, and there's an imagined dialogue in there, an imagined conversation. And Christine's character, whose name is Claire, is looking for some hint of closure. Of course, when I get in my head and start writing a piece about closure or the seeking of closure, the writer in me, the person in me, quickly comes to the realization, well, closure's kind of a myth or something we have to come to terms with as individuals. And it looks different for every individual. Grief, loss, all that stuff looks different for every person. So
Yeah, it's very individual.
to answer your question, yes, I have had those imagined dialogues, but also the other side of my brain didn't really complete it because I can only speak to my truth.
Well, there's a point where, like I said, when like now, okay, here's a crazy question. You're obviously very creative, very witty, and
As
well
are
versed
you.
with it. Thank you, with an incredible amount of poise. Now, in the moment, in the real world, that thing that you wish you could have said at the right moment. Do you say it at the right moment, or do you think of it later?
Depends on context. I think as someone who does,
See, I'm about
I
50-50.
yeah, I think I'm
50% of the time,
50-50
I've
too.
got it there and it's
I think
ready.
I'm 50-50 too. I said that I identify on the introverted end of the spectrum, but I can turn it on very quickly. I'm not sure if I said that when we were
Right.
not recording, but either way, I do, all things being equal, identify as an introvert. But as a performer, I can turn it on pretty quickly. And I think I'm maybe not 50-50, maybe I'm 49% going to say
51.
something in the moment and 51% going to sit on my thoughts and come back with a poised
There's
response.
also a Venn diagram crossover for that for me
Yeah.
where I said something in the moment, but I think of something better later.
Yeah.
And I go, well, shit. I should
Yeah.
have. Yeah, damn it. I should have said that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you just like mutter around your house going, yeah, that's what I should have said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes it might be that witty comeback, but also sometimes it might be, I communicated X, but after thinking about it for a hot second, I really meant Y. I
Right.
really should have or would have benefited from just kind of sleeping on this. I have to challenge myself sometimes to sleep on things. And thankfully or unthankfully, in 2023, we have a lot of email communication.
Sure.
And a benefit of that is that we can cull our thoughts together a little bit better than just responding in the heated moment of a potentially tense conversation.
Well, you really, I think we can all agree. At that point, you have two choices: eviscerate, which is not for everyone.
That's for Bravo.
Being a Digati, and I've been trained in psychological warfare, like at samurai level. So that's just, I noticed your name ends in a vowel. So, did you have a crazy Italian family?
Yes.
Aren't they
Big,
fun?
large, lovely, wonderful, emotional,
Like
beautiful.
Sunday dinner in a
Yes.
Roman arena. It's
And
fantastic.
is it sauce or gravy in the Digati
In
family?
the Digati family, it is sauce. And actually, my nanny called it ragu, which is
Oh,
the Italian word for
Nani,
sauce, but
yeah.
everybody thinks she's talking about the stuff in the jar, which was just named after the Italian word for sauce. But and everything. But yeah, there was big ziti in at a pan that I think was a mile
Yeah.
long. And by the time the end of the day, there's lots of like that sweet red wine running around. All the women are wearing aprons because there's a drawer. Everybody, just all the cousins and aunties come in and they pull an apron out of the drawer and they start helping in the kitchen. And all the men go and watch sporting events and drink
Hmm.
wine. And by the end of the day, like when things are winding down right before coffee and cookies, is like, the men are just like sound asleep. You could perform brain surgery
It's
on
a lot of
them.
starch.
Yeah, they get the itis in a big way, and they're just like, I mean, they're out, and all the women are just cleaning up, and when you're a kid, you're just kind of around this, and I think I'm gonna say kind of like this is sort of my viewpoint of it, and I sense something similar. Kids are great emotional spies because people accidentally say stuff in front of us. We see stuff. They don't
Yes.
realize we're listening or watching. And I can't
Yes,
help but assume, because of the realness of what you write, that you were that kind of kid that was observant, that took everything in.
for sure. Yes. Yeah. Stephen Sondheim has a song in one of his shows called Someone in a Tree. And I've identified with that song, just being someone who watches.
I mean, we're all emotional voyeurs to some degree.
Taking it all in. Yeah, thank you for finding that quick language of emotional voyeur. Voyeur was on the tip of my tongue, but I didn't quite know how to craft it into something that didn't make me sound
I mean, like the
like a
human
wackadoo.
condition, whether you're, I mean, I write some too. I mean, whether you're a writer, whether you're, in any other kind of artistic or creative expressive, but you don't even have to be. If you talk to someone who's a hairdresser, if you talk to somebody who's a
It's art.
bartender,
A bodybuilder,
right? Anybody who is trainers,
a
especially
car
because
fanatic.
anybody who is in an area where people, especially, but I find especially like your hairdresser. My mom was a hairdresser, and she used to say, I do like 10% hair and 90% psychiatry, because people get in the chair and you start, and she's doing the thing, and
Yeah,
they start telling you your life. And I think that when you're in family situations, there's a lot of observational, emotional
yeah,
intelligence to be had.
for sure. I agree. And presumably, like you as well, Rocky, I've always been someone who's intellectually curious. So
Yes.
doing what you were asking me about earlier, kind of imagining a dialogue, like what would it have been like if I didn't respond in such a heated way, or the person I was speaking with didn't turn their back on me? That's intellectually curious. Who knows where it can go when you put pen to paper?
It is, and I think and I've been in situations. I myself was pretty severely bullied as a kid, and I think in some ways writing became a fantasy for me, because I could write stories where people treated me better, or I could write stories where I was strong and I didn't feel frightened or weak.
Hmm.
And I found that I empowered myself in my writing.
That's beautiful.
Well, I think a lot of writers, I think in different ways do much the same thing.
Yeah.
It's a way to empower yourself. And that's why I was curious, because I used to write scenarios, and I have notebooks from when I was early as 9 years old, where I'm writing scenarios where either the bullies change their minds
Hmm.
and suddenly they think I'm cool. I've never been cool. That's just, it didn't work out for me. But I
I
ended up being
don't
interesting.
agree
Interesting
with
is better.
that.
Cool. No, seriously, cool is overrated. Interesting is where it's at. Um, but and things like that, or fantasies where I was the hero or the victor, where I felt like anything but. And I think that a lot of people, if they may not write it down, but I think a lot of people have that thought process. I think that's a way to self-soothe
Yeah, for
in some
sure.
ways,
I think writing can be very therapeutic. And here at our cool table, Rocky, our 2023 cool table, something that is part of the world of imagined dialogue is going back and writing whatever terrible experience you encountered as a kid, writing it from the bully's perspective. And of course, the quick knee-jerk conclusion is they're not secure in themselves, they're not happy with themselves, they don't like themselves. And I'm sure there's truth in that. But for one's own therapeutic process and edification, write it from the other person's perspective. There's power in that, or in exploring it.
That's a terrific exercise. That really is.
Yeah.
And even if you're not someone to sit down and put pen to paper, to try to imagine a movie in your head from
Yeah.
the other person's perspective, if you're not a writer type person, because that, I think empathy is on short supply,
Yeah,
and that's a shame.
for sure. It's the echo chambers are all around us. So if we're looking for confirmation or corroboration of what we're already thinking, we can find that opinion pretty quickly. Probably it's already programmed into our TVs. But that's good maybe on random Tuesdays and Thursdays, but also just imagining the world as someone else, imagining the world from a different perspective, I think can be a more nuanced process that might actually yield a hint of some understanding. We're never going to agree on everything, but
No,
it's nice to find the common ground when it's there.
I've always maintained, and this is my own personal philosophy. People don't write me letters, okay? This is my own personal opinion. I have always maintained that if you really look, you really, really look, we have so much more in common than we have differences.
Agreed.
And I don't, and that's another, people ask me about this crazy thing about the human bone jewelry and everything that Darker Arc Studio does. And that's, folks hear the intro to the podcast, and that's my studio, and I make human bone jewelry. And everybody's like, why are you so into skeletons? Why are you so into like skulls? And, no, I don't know who those people are. I'm just imitating. I'm just kidding. I ain't doing that. Come on. And, so
because we're at the cool table.
Because we're at the cool. Actually, it has become cool, which is weird. But because I got into it, and everybody in the podcast is going to go, oh God, she's going to tell the graveyard story again, where I was chased in the graveyard. The bullies wouldn't go in the graveyard. So when I got chased by bullies, I went into the graveyard, and they would wait at the gate.
Wow.
And this was a graveyard not far from my house in Bristol, Rhode Island. And
beautiful town.
It is a lovely town. And it was one of those ones with the old slate markers from colonial New England. Yeah. And what was kind of cool was, I mean, I couldn't leave because they wouldn't come in, but they would wait at the gate until they got tired or hungry or whatever it is, and they just got sick of it. So I would bide my time walking through the cemetery, and I would look at all the cool. So it was a sanctuary for me. So I saw a lot of the skulls and the winged skulls and the old slate gravestones. And I got into human bone jewelry. And one of the things, and this is where I was going with this, is one of the things I love about bones is they're egalitarian. We fight about everything that's on top of them.
As in equal playing field.
Equal playing field.
All things
At
are
bone
equal
level,
in depth.
we are the same.
Totally.
And we just have arguments and incidents about everything on top of the bones.
Yeah.
So when we get down to our bones, it is unifying, and I think they're beautiful, and I like the egalitarian quality of it.
I agree, and something I've learned about myself in writing now 3 seasons of Around the Sun and producing 3 seasons of Around the Sun is that there is a hint of existentialism and a nod to whatever comes next in each of these seasons. So I don't think it's that type of thinking is too far below the surface in me, but it seems to come out subconsciously in the writing or through the writing.
Oh, you say it's subconscious, but I think it's beautifully intended, because I know that I think you're doing exactly what you set out to do, in the sense that you want to make people feel, you want to make people identify, because the subject and the dialogue is so well written and so well presented. We feel like we're in that moment, and many of us have either been in that moment before or can identify with the emotions of that moment. It may be 10, 15, 20 minutes. It draws you in, and it's a place you've been before. So all of a sudden, the emotion really comes through. Now, when did this idea hit you? Was it during the whole COVID thing? Did you say, I need to do something?
The production for season 1 of Around the Sun happened during the earlier days of the pandemic, when we were practicing social distancing and even not really encouraged to go out and be with people. So the recording could happen remotely through modern technology. And the pieces, like the one that Marsha and Austin did, like the one that Sally Struthers did, those were already written and had been performed in 10-minute play circles. And then others, like me and Vincent Pastore, another person I've had the great privilege of working with a number of times, and Maureen
Talk about
Van
crazy
Zandt.
Italian family, for folks who may not know.
So lovely and beautiful.
That's Big Pussy, isn't it?
It is.
That's Big Pussy from The Sopranos.
Yes, and
Big Pussy bumping Sarah.
Maureen is also on The Sopranos and is also a Jersey girl, she would tell you. Anyway, some of them, it is. And some of those pieces were written expressly for the medium. And then season 2 was written exclusively for the medium. And season 3, same thing. So each season hopefully has evolved in writing and production and all that.
Well, the facets are just brilliant, literally and figuratively, of this gem of a podcast. I mean, it's just a pleasure. And folks, once again, you can go to aroundthesunpodcast.com. I got to ask though, Did Mr. Does he say Pastor or Pastori?
I say Pastor.
I tend to
I
say
have heard it said
Pastori.
both ways. I have
Can we
never
just
heard
call him
him
Vinny?
correct me.
Do you think he'd mind? I don't want to be
I do not think he
disrespectful.
might. In fact, he might even encourage you to call him Uncle Vin.
All right. Question. Uncle Vin. How many relatives you got just like Uncle Vin?
Oh gosh, I was
Yeah.
just writing about this. I mean, I couldn't do a raw count for you that quickly, but I could tell you
More than
the
three.
the ultimate one I call dad, or he's
Yeah.
moved on, but my beautiful dad is my also my beautiful Uncle Vin. So there's some
Yeah.
symmetry there.
My dad was an old Sicilian guy. And I think we had this conversation before we started recording, then that's where Rocky came from because my dad kind of goofed up the initial pronunciation of the name Raquel.
Hmm.
And my mother kind of gave him a like, you don't even know how to say it, though your daughter's name. And then, because it's a whole long story about how I got my name. I'm not going to bore everybody with that one now. But the thing is that, he Rocky and he was very much old school, but he had three daughters, so he had to be a little bit more progressive than being a little too chauvinistic. So he always told us, we could do anything, we could be anything and everything. And I have seen Uncle Vin in other things as well.
Yes.
And he has, and I think when you're set up for excelling in a particular stereotypical kind of role, I think you can bring different facets to that role, but I think a lot of people have trouble seeing you beyond that one context.
I've worked with Vin on a couple different projects, and again, he's been wonderfully empowering to my artistic career. Same with Maureen. Um, I've never worked with Vin in those stereotypical wise guy roles.
Right.
However, I'm fully aware, and I don't speak for him, but I believe he is too, that there's is a type that kind of comes before a person is cast, and it's very interesting how all of that businessy side of things work, because I mean, I've seen him do snippets of so much. I've seen him do snippets of Death of a Salesman. I've seen him do snippets of Eddie Carbone. um we're all so much deeper
Well,
than
that's
what.
that's what's so nice about what you're
Yeah.
doing is it gives people kind of a chance to come out of their stereotype, a lot of their shell. I love it when we have like we talked about Raiders of the Lost Ark, the ever enduring series,
Yes.
and Harrison Ford still sexy though his skin doesn't fit, but he managed to, well, he carries it off way better than Iggy Pop does. That's all I'm gonna say. But don't write me letters, people. Do not. Okay.
I haven't seen the latest incarnation, but it's on the list.
Harrison Ford is also a very, very cool individual. I found out through just reading because I've never had the pleasure of conversing with him, but I found out that he's a chopper pilot. He does volunteer search and rescue, which is
Ah,
absolutely noble and amazing, and
awesome.
has been a fixture in his community and helpful in his community. So he is a
Good for
registered,
him.
bona fide, awesome guy and badass.
That's so nice when one discovers that,
It was,
that
and I
these
also
people
found out
whose
he went
work
to
we
film school with
admire.
Jim Morrison.
Wow.
Yeah, UCLA Film
Wow.
School. Yeah, so Harrison Ford goes into the way back of cool, but and it's there's so many interesting actors and people in your show that, I mean, the list is endless, and I'm so excited now. When does the third season premiere? Talk about what's coming up.
The
What we got
third
going on?
season will premiere this fall, 2023. We just wrapped production, and it will carry through the new year in 2024. So it has a holiday theme.
Oh,
Um,
fantastic!
see, I'm moving, shifting into my extroverted self here, Rocky, which is where a pitch comes in. But
This is where
hope,
you do it.
okay. I mean, I don't have to preface it. Um,
No, go
I
for
hope
it.
people listen. I'm genuine in that each season has evolved, and I'm very proud of each season. But what's unique about season three, which is coming up fall 2023, is that it's continuous. So it's written as a mini series where episodes can still be enjoyed in a one-off way. Folks can listen to their favorite artists if that's what they're looking for. But if they listen from start to finish, there is a continuous plot line. And the personalities in season three are featured in more than 1 or 2 episodes. They're part of the season-long arc, which is very interesting from a production perspective because, of course, they're not all recording at the same time. Typically, 2 actors and a very small production team will record these 10 to 15-minute audio dramas
Right.
in a singular remote recording space like we're doing right now.
Right.
But this season, because it's much more of an ensemble approach, it compelled a number of different recording sessions where I'm reading opposite certain actors and not others because they're there for each other. And production wise, that was a cool challenge for me. Writing wise, I've written ensemble pieces before and full length pieces, but at the back end, editing is a different type of storytelling. And I've never had to edit someone who recorded on a sunny day with someone who may have had a more grumpy disposition or the character called from a grumpy disposition. And then I'm recording with a third person on a rainy day and forgetting what was done. I shouldn't really reveal too much of how the sausage is made, but I think we have a really lovely season, and the opportunity to read opposite Estelle Parsons, Judy Gold, Katie
Estelle
McLean,
Parsons
Robert
is another.
Finaro.
Estelle Parsons is another name I tell folks to look up because you know the face. I know her from several movies and TV. Also, I think more recently people remember her as Roseanne's mom.
I think that's what her IMDb probably bumps to the top. And of course, most of us of a certain age know and love her Oscar-winning performance in Bonnie and Clyde. I love that film.
Yes.
And I'm not really an action person. I like good storytelling more so than a lot of high stim stuff, but I love Bonnie and Clyde. I love her in that, and she's a theater lady, and I've seen her in many shows through the years, and she's always working. She's 95 now, and
that's outstanding.
She just did like a week-long series, don't quote me on this, but some extended run at the Actor Studio where she is integral to and always working. Maybe she curated it, maybe she directed it. I'm speaking off the cuff, but it's a Google away.
There's so many fantastic names. Now when I have to ask, so obviously you've got some great contacts and you've got some good street cred, for lack of a better term, in the biz to be able to pull these names and to be able to get them involved in your project. And even if you didn't, the integrity of the project speaks for itself, I think.
Thank you.
That in other words, somebody say, well, like, why would somebody that famous do that? Read it and you understand why they wanted to do it. It's terrific material. But who gave you the oh my God when you got them on?
Oh boy. Well, I have to go back to Sally
Who
Struthers.
Did you fanboy Sally Struthers?
So again, season 3, just a couple weeks ago before we wrapped production, I'm reading opposite Estelle Parsons, which is a special kind of joy and intimidation, though she is not intimidating. It's just all self-imposed. I'm doing it to myself. But going back to season 1, the other folks that I've invoked, Marsha, Austin, Vin, Maureen, I've worked with them before. So they have a lot of visibility and a lot of credits. And I know their working styles and they know mine, and there's trust there. But Sally Struthers is the first person to come into the project who I didn't know previously. And again, these are very early days of pandemic.
Right.
So
everybody's bored.
Everybody's looking for something
something cool to do.
And she said yes to the project, presumably because those other names that I've referenced from season 1 had already said yes. And to that end, I've never had that experience before of directing someone whose work I was intimately familiar with, not just All in the Family, but Gilmore Girls, 9 to 5, the TV show, Dinosaurs, if you remember that, and Tailspin, if you grew up in the 90s.
What?
Yeah, you got it.
I do.
You have a lot
Of
of
trivial,
repertoire in you,
useless knowledge in
Rocky.
my head. That's
Yeah.
what you were going to say. I know.
And to answer your question in brief, that was the first time I was meeting someone and directing them all at once, but that's happened dozens of times since. And what you learn is they're people too.
Oh,
And of
sure.
course, we all know that, but they want to do the work and they have something to contribute to the work.
Absolutely.
So really, the more you let them do their thing, they're professional actors and they have something unique and perspective that is unique to contribute to the project, and let them run with it.
It's all for the love of the creative process.
Yeah.
But you cannot tell me that young Brad watching Nick family, All in the Family and Nick at Night didn't give a high five to today Brad for that one.
Yeah, you're correct. Yes. I'll steer into my extroverted self and say, yes, you are correct.
That's awesome. I was a huge fan of All in the Family as a kid. And so any other great fanboy moments?
Well, this is the Macabre podcast, right?
It is indeed.
So a certain Ms. Piper Laurie, would that name
yes.
mean anything to you?
Yes.
Carrie,
yes,
Oscar nominee.
Sure.
Well, I got to direct Ms. Laurie and also got to act opposite her in one of the episodes. So while I'm less inclined to direct myself, playing a happy alien opposite Ms. Laurie's disgruntled alien is both an unforgettable moment for me and an unforgettable moment for her, probably because she's saying, who the hell is this person and what is he asking me to do? So definitely a fanboy moment there.
Oh yeah, the Piper Laurie, a legend, and so many legends as well,
and a human, and that's the through line for all these people. So fanboy, yes, but also it's equally about her humanity and her generosity to do that with me as much as it is about the resume she travels with.
Every artist, musician, actor, whatever, everyone who shares a little bit of their creativity with you is sharing a part of themselves that they don't show anywhere else. And I think it's always a privilege to be able to be privy to that.
Agreed.
I'm going to drop a bomb on you. Speaking of season 3s, you have just almost completed recording the season 3 premiere episode of Macabre World Podcast. We are going into our 3rd season. I'm saving that a little bit to the end here, only because it's been wonderful to talk to people that have brought all of us together and brought so much interesting conversations to my listeners and to everybody who supports. And I can't thank you all enough. And so go and support Brad. But before you go, and this is brand new for the 3rd season, so you are the first person for this. We're gonna go like 3 for the road, and 3 for the road are 3 quick questions.
I like that.
We're gonna so 3 for the road edition with Brad Forenza. Number 1, favorite fairy tale.
Jack and the Beanstalk.
Why?
I'm thinking about listening to it on what my grandmother would call a Victrola.
Okay.
A recorded version of the story being read aloud to me.
Kids.
Yeah. And I'm thinking of her telling me this is like the radio plays that we used to listen to. And now that's what I'm doing.
Okay. Awesome. Number 2, favorite comic or comic strip.
Charlie Brown / Peanuts / Snoopy, whatever your preferred name is. And if there's a why, it's because of the melancholy of it all and the existentialism of it all and the yin and yang of it all. Little kids with some deep thoughts.
There really was a lot more going on there. And last but not least, crunchy or creamy?
Crunchy.
Oh, we like that. We're a crunchy crew over here. Brad, I can't thank you enough for taking time out. And
Rocky.
Again, folks, you got to check out seasons 1 and 2 of Around the Sun podcast. You can find it at aroundthesunpodcast.com. It is on the Broadway Podcast Network. And there are, I think we've only touched the surface of how amazing the talent is. And I'd like to point out that that talent would not be there if the writing wasn't so stellar. And that's
Rocky,
all
how do I put you in my pocket so You can help turn on my extroverted self a bit more than I'm able to.
I think you're extroverted self. And again, shout out to Dwayne for introducing us. We're going to
Yes.
have Dwayne back in season 3. And Dwayne, if you're listening, I'm going to come up
We
with a
love
3 for
you.
the road that's going to scare the hell out of you. So that'll be fun to listen to, and everybody can go. So any final words for us, Brad? What's next? So we're going to look for season 3. What else is going on?
Season 3 this fall 2023, and if you want to catch up on seasons 1 and 2, it's available to you now. And thank you, Rocky, for helping me get the word out, and congrats on your season 3.
Oh, and thank you so much. And for everyone out there, thank you for 2 amazing seasons. Don't forget, this is going to air on the first day of MonsterCon in Cherry Hill. I will be there on August 4th, 5th, and 6th. So if you are in the local area, come out to MonsterCon, stop by the Darker Arts Studio, Real Human Bone Jewelry vending table. And remember, folks, as always, stay kooky out there. Thank you for listening to Macabre World. You can find us on the web at www.darkerartsstudio.com.